This weekend, Jonny Lee Miller, star of CBS's Elementary, will be running 50 miles in what is called an ultra marathon.
Yes, as impressive as that is, he is also doing it for a good cause to help bring awareness to a rare disease that afflicts children. It's called Sanfilippo Syndrome. And here to tell us about it is the one and only Jonny Lee Miller. Jonny, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So before we get into this ultra marathon that you're going to be running this weekend, let's talk a little bit about Sanfilippo.
Yeah.
And in particular, the Jonah's Just Begun Foundation. You work very, very closely with this group of people. They're close to my heart as well. Talk about Sanfilippo Syndrome. It is very, very hard to diagnose when these children are young, right?
Yeah, it often goes misdiagnosed. It's such a rare condition, spread between the 4 different types of the MPS diseases. It's about 1 in 70,000 births. So pediatricians often haven't seen it. Children often go misdiagnosed because there are no symptoms initially. They usually occur at kindergarten age. Delays, mild deformities, prone to sinus infections, diarrhea, and behavioral problems as well. So it's often associated with perhaps autism or ADHD.
And specific testing has to be done in order to diagnose this, correct?
Absolutely. And pediatricians, obviously, not having seen it a lot, you know, it's the specific testing which needs to be done. So it's very important to find families and to find children who are suffering so that we can study more. And we need people in order to bring drugs to clinical trial. Very coarse, thick hair is another symptom, a very, very, very common symptom.
Now, as far as what happens to these children when they start to show symptoms and then the progression from there, you've worked with these children. Tell us about their state.
Those are the initial symptoms, and the second stage is really a closing down of the ability to communicate, walk, and ultimately breathe. So the children really can. Obviously, it's a fatal disease. There's no cure, so the children can die as early as 3 years old. But usually, they'll make it into their teens. There have been some cases of children making it into their 30s, but that's rare. So time is of the essence.
And the money that you're raising is going to fund research, right?
Yeah.
Because are they trying to find a cure for this disease?
Absolutely, and that work is being done. But because it's one of the rare diseases, most of the, if not all of the funding for the research comes from families generating funds and the kindness of strangers. The family that I know, and Jill Wood, Jonah's mother from Jonah's Just Begun, started her own biotech corporation in order to, and she has 7 projects going on around the world, and she works with, she has a scientist in a lab. It's extraordinary stuff, but these are desperate parents as well as, incredibly impressive people, but they didn't want to just sit by, and it was their geneticist who said to them, why don't you go make a cure happen?
Yeah, do it yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, you are a huge advocate for them. I know you've been to Washington, D.C. to talk to Congress about it, and now you are running yet another ultra marathon for this foundation. So let's talk about this. 50 miles. It's happening this weekend, right?
Yeah, this Saturday.
How do you train for that?
You did a lot of running.
Well, you're running the New York City
Marathon. But that's nothing
but is
compared to what
is the
this guy
training the same? In other words, I am never going to run, not even a 5K. But I'm just curious. You probably train much in the same way, right? You go step by step.
First of all, I point out I like running.
That's important.
This was what married into being able to help. I'm just doing my small thing that I feel I can contribute and try and raise awareness, and I get to sit and talk to you guys about it. The running's very similar to a marathon, the training, I should say. You just ramp it up a bit more. Rather than running an hour a day, I'll try and run an hour and a half a day. And then those larger runs, they get bigger and bigger once a week in the 3 months leading up to it. And the key part of the training is to do a back-to-back day where I'll run a marathon on Saturday and then get up on Sunday and do it again.
Wow.
And we do that one time about a month before the race. I'll never run 50 miles in training.
Right. So, but you must be completely knackered dead at the end of that, right? To use the English term,
you
right?
could say that, yeah. And the key is to train as hard as you can up to a point and then have a rest period before. But it's a kind of weirdly enjoyable. It's a mental exercise. You'd be surprised at the kinds of people that can achieve this. Everybody can, to be honest with you. The great secret is if you do the training, you get up at 5 in the morning when it's dark and snowing, you're winning. And what it's nothing compared to the families of Sanfilippo children. They're nothing compared to the challenge that they face.
Well, that certainly gives it perspective. But I think for the viewers that are watching at home, how do you pass the time during having to run 50 miles? Do you listen to music? Do you have conversations with people?
I have conversations with myself, and they're fairly boring. I listen to music sometimes, only in the training, not during the runs. You want to interact with your fellow competitors, and you want to be safe on the trails. So earphones are not recommended. I run to work a lot of the time because if I can't fit the training in, I'll put my stuff in a backpack and go out just a bit earlier and show up at work and take a shower.
Hopefully you can take a shower, I was going to say.
Yeah, no, it's a smelly,
and Lucy comes over and she's like,
disgusting.
Johnny.
Yeah.
You're living up to your character, Sick Boy.
Exactly, yeah.
Now, Vlad was asking you this. How long does it normally take you to finish this race?
Well, this 50 miles would be around 12 hours, maybe a little longer, because it depends where it's happening, and we're running in Bear Mountain on Saturday.
Hills.
So it's up and down. It's very rocky. It's a level 5 technical trail. For those of you running nerds who are watching, it's,
level 1 is, I guess, flat.
Yeah, exactly. And level 5 is, very
that the highest?
difficult to negotiate.
That's
in
the
places.
highest level 5?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. Do you eat during that time?
Yeah, you got to take on calories. You got to be smart, and you can eat all the modern.
Like goo.
But that stuff is only good to a point. And it comes to a point where you need salt, potatoes, and protein, and you need real food, and they have that around the trails.
So what, you're running and you stuff a potato in your mouth, and then you can go, wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Do you I'm just trying to imagine
How do you go to the bathroom?
You really want to get into that right now? I mean, I'm not so sure this is the time or place.
Well, you are in nature, right? I guess we can just say it like that. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Sherlock, if we can, and Elementary, and the success of the show. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's great.
Thank you.
Another season, and I know that you guys are busy taping your last episodes for this particular season.
Yes.
What I've noticed, Vlad, is that Sherlock suddenly seems to have a heart. At least it's thawing a bit anyway. Am I off base?
No, he does. I guess he's part of his recovery and his relationship with Watson, and he's sort of learning how to interact with people better. I mean, I always saw him as kind of a misunderstood people person. I think the Sherlock Holmes from the books is much more of a he likes people more than people imagine.
Yeah, he's been in the books. He's much more like your character as opposed to the Basil Rathbone, the character that I think a lot of people.
He's less aloof. I didn't find him quite so aloof in the book, so I wanted to bring that in. He just has a bit of trouble with the way he negotiates that, and it goes to it speaks to his drug addiction and recovery and all that. So he's learning and making progress in that way, but there may be some bumps in the road ahead, shall we say.
Yeah, right. What did you try to do differently because of late Sherlock Holmes has been in the public consciousness? You've had the Sherlock BBC series, the series done by, and the series done by Guy Ritchie. And so what were you trying to do differently from the way people might be learning about Sherlock Holmes now, young people especially?
Yeah, I mean, most of the credit has to go to the creator, Rob Doherty, and his vision for it. We did focus on some of the darker sides and some of the problems that he may have had, and those are elements really taken from the books. There is drug use in the books, and in the knowledge that we have these days of the dangers of such things, we thought he would put that into our story and into Sherlock's character, and so he's had to deal with that problem. It's a problem for him, and things are not running quite as smoothly for him. So we felt that was a difference. Also, being in New York City, it's a melting pot city, so it really echoes the Victorian London, in my opinion. And obviously the Watson dynamic is different, Watson being female, although we don't feel it's that it should matter, the sex,
Yeah, right. No, that part is not important at all. I want to also ask you two things, going back a bit in your history. First, about Trainspotting, you played the character Sick Boy, just
Yeah.
a great character. Did you, and now there's a Criterion edition, people are sort of saying that film is one of the great all-time films to come out of the UK, one of the great films, you know, in recent history. Did you know that when you were making the film? Did you have a sense, that you, the actors, that this was going to be, and all of you have gone on to amazing careers. I mean, obviously, Ewan McGregor and...
I had a conversation with Danny Boyle recently, obviously the director of the film, and you know, he was saying, I think one of the main reasons that when you find success, one of the main ingredients for those is when something is made with love. And strangely, and I remember that he's absolutely right, that when we made that film, we were all on the same page, and there was a lot of love it poured into it from every aspect, from the design, from all of the departments, and there was that feeling, and that is not everything, but it goes a long way to making a successful project. Obviously, you have to have all the other ingredients right, good material, great script it was, and just the zeitgeist of the time, and Danny himself, really, I mean, the man, in my opinion, is genius. So yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a family history with acting. I know you wanted to touch on that.
Yes, because I'm a huge James Bond fan, and your grandfather was Bernard Lee, who played M from the very first James Bond, Dr. No, through almost into the late 70s. 11 films.
Yeah.
Did you know him well at all? I know he probably died when you were,
Yeah, I was about 8 years old, I think, when he passed away, but I did know him very well.
Yeah.
He was a wonderful man. He's a hero of mine. I mean, he made over 100 films, and the British film industry was, you know, a superpower back then, and it was there was a lot of stuff being made, and I'm still finding movies of his that I haven't seen.
Wow.
I'm reading a play at the moment that he was in the West End for over a year, which my mother had always talked about, and I found a copy of it. You know,
Did you post that on Instagram or on Twitter, the cover of that? I thought you did, maybe.
I may have done.
Yeah, it was very faded, and I think you made mention to it. I'm not stalking you. I just remember that.
But you were also, is it true that you were considered, like, after Pierce Brosnan, you were considered for the James Bond role that ultimately went to Daniel Craig?
Well, no, I mean, if I'd have been considered, I'd be playing James Bond right now.
Of course you would.
You had Sherlock in the future.
Right, Sherlock and James Bond, they're two quintessential British characters.
I'm going for all of the British heroes. I'm looking to play Robin Hood as well, at some point.
That's awesome.
And Winston Churchill.
Oh, of course. You can put on some weight, but...
Well, I know that your Instagram is always really interesting. Before we let you go here, you post some really... You're a comedian. You really are. You're like, no, you are. You post these crazy pictures on Instagram, and like posing next to dead bodies and, you know, whatever on the set.
I mean, they're fake, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, of course. They're fake.
But yeah, and then, are you a cook? Like, do you like to cook? I noticed.
Oh,
you know,
yeah,
I always see
yeah.
like, you know, all your little recipes.
I'm an avid cook. Yes. You know, I used to try and stay away from posting food pictures and stuff, but it's once in a while you're like, oh, that looks good.
This is so awesome.
I started a hashtag empty plates where I would cook something delicious, eat it, and then photograph the empty plate and describe in detail what it was. That took off for a minute.
That's pretty cool.
Well, I think we need to start making that trend.
That's
Let's do
right.
the empty plate trend. Jonny Lee Miller, it's fabulous. I want to remind our viewers that they can watch Elementary on Thursdays, 10 o'clock Eastern. Also, please donate to Johnny's CrowdRise page.
Yeah, you can look me up on. You can look all that stuff up on my Twitter and Instagram.
And we've got a graphic up right now too.
Yeah,
that we
thank
can,
you.
Let's raise some money for these kids because they certainly deserve it.
Thank you very much for being here.
Thanks for having
really
me.
Inspirational talk.
Good
My
luck,
pleasure.
Johnny.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Have a great run.